The intern Lily at my father's company caused a factory explosion due to improper operation. My father was burned to death on the spot. I lost my hearing in both ears and suffered severe burns. My childhood sweetheart despised my scarred, disfigured appearance after the accident. In front of everyone, he abandoned me and went abroad with Lily to hold their wedding. But my adoptive brother, Oliver, married me without hesitation at that time. He stood firmly on my side and said he would stay with me for the rest of his life, until the day my hearing finally recovered. I wanted to surprise him. That night at the bar, I pretended to be drunk and collapsed into his arms. Everyone around was discussing just how deeply devoted a person could be. But then I heard one of his friends say, "Oliver, why go this far? Just to destroy evidence for Lily. You actually married that ugly, deaf freak. If I didn't do this, Lily's entire life would be ruined. What if that ugly deaf woman finds out the truth about what happened back then? I've already sacrificed my entire life for this. What more does she want? As long as Lily can live freely, I'm willing to eliminate any threat for her." Chapter 1. Oliver's words crashed into my ears like the explosion from years ago, roaring violently inside my mind. I lay in his arms, my heart feeling as if it had been brutally pierced. Everyone around fell into silence. One of his friends stood up and opened another bottle of champagne. "Oliver, this one's on me. For Lily's sake. Having to face such an ugly freak every day, let alone sharing a bed with her. As long as Lily can live happily, that's all that matters. She should remain like the moon, hanging high in the sky, forever beautiful and untarnished. As for the shadows beneath her light, I'll take responsibility for clearing them away." The crisp clinking of glasses rang clearly in my ears. I clenched my teeth, forcing myself to suppress the surging emotions inside, afraid Oliver might notice something was wrong. Seeing no sign of me waking up, his friends became even more brazen, openly discussing the accident from back then. "But Oliver, that factory explosion back then, and Miss Lily." One of them hesitated, then spoke up. "You destroyed all that evidence privately. Aren't you afraid Julia might blame you? And besides, legally speaking, after all, several lives had been lost in that incident." Everyone said Miss Julia was the daughter of a murderer, but the few of them knew exactly what had really happened. Back then, Oliver had approached them, asking them to find the factory damage footage and raw material data. They thought that as an adopted son, Oliver wanted to uncover the truth. But what they never expected was that the moment the evidence was found, Oliver destroyed it without even looking. That's enough. This ends here. Lily is I watched grow up. I know her character better than anyone. This was all an accident. Julia's life has already been ruined. I can't ruin Lily's life too. I've already married Julia. She won't lack food or clothing for the rest of her life. I'll take responsibility for her future as well. This matter is over. Lily will be returning to the country soon. I don't want any accidents. Oliver, that's real devotion to Lily. If that's not love, what is? The group laughed, wrapping things up with jokes. I felt something break as I bit through my lip, the taste of iron spreading in my mouth. So this was it. The evidence I had searched for so desperately had already been destroyed. Chapter 2. Oliver told me that Lily had been punished, sentenced to 5 years in prison. It was nothing but a comforting lie he told me. The truth was, everything had been a joke. She had been living abroad, more glamorous than anyone. Back then, my father's factory had suddenly exploded. Countless people cursed him as a murderer, but it was Lily who controlled the perfume formula. Yet all the blame was dumped onto my father. The cause of the fire was a problem with the concentration of raw materials. A single miscalculation turned the materials into fuel, instantly engulfing the entire factory. A trace of mockery flashed through my eyes. Back then, when I was severely burned, everything was handled by Oliver. I never imagined that he would let the real murderer walk free. His tenderness after marriage, his patience, his restraint, all of it was so Lily could continue bathing in the sunlight, untouched and radiant. Back then, he told me he would handle everything. I thought he was my salvation. I never realized he was saving someone else. 5 years of marriage, just a farce. Seeing that I still hadn't woken up, Oliver gently carried me into the car. "Julia's asleep. Turn up the heat. Drive slowly." He whispered instructions softly, holding me as carefully as if I were something fragile. This was the fabricated tenderness that deceived me for 5 whole years. I couldn't help recalling the day of our wedding, when I stood there with my terrifying scars. Martin, the childhood sweetheart who once loved me, suddenly broke off the engagement. They said I was a murderer's daughter. They said I was a monster. Only Oliver stood firmly by my side, took my hand, and brought me home. Over the years, I had slowly been moved by him. In order to stand beside him with dignity, I secretly scheduled reconstructive surgery, but reality slapped me hard in the face. So love, too, could be performed this convincingly. I slowly opened my eyes. Noticing my movement, Oliver immediately began signing to me. Why didn't you sleep longer? Did I wake you? I've slept long enough. It's time to wake up. I shook my head and spoke softly. Oliver smiled and placed a kiss on my forehead. After a while, the car radio began reporting the return of a genius perfumer, Susan. Susan was Lily's professional alias in the fragrance world. Oliver looked at me, hesitated for a moment, then continued signing. 5 years have passed. Lily knows she was wrong. The evidence back then couldn't prove she mixed the formula incorrectly. All the evidence shows the factory worker misread the data. In that sense, Lily was somewhat innocent too. Martin's family also helped back then to clear Uncle's name. Now the company wants to move into luxury goods, and we can't do it without help from the two of them. I looked at him, a dark emotion spreading in my eyes. I understand. Don't worry. I won't pursue this matter anymore. Oliver visibly relaxed. After a long moment, he gently touched my scars. His eyes filled with pain. I closed my eyes, unwilling to look at him anymore. Only the ache in my chest grew stronger. Sensing my discomfort, Oliver told me to rest when we got home. He went into the kitchen alone to cook. That was when my phone rang. I glanced at the caller ID. Lily. The name stabbed into my eyes. Hearing the ringtone, Oliver rushed out. His hands were busy, so he put the call on speaker. Oliver, Lily's voice overflowed with longing. Soft and tender. Lily, are you doing okay over there? Do you have enough money? I looked at Oliver. He looked back at me. The tenderness in his eyes was more genuine than ever. This tenderness had never belonged to me. You can come back without worry. I've handled everything with Julia. She won't make things difficult for you anymore. I said nothing. Using a burner account, I searched the phone number I had found earlier in Oliver's phone. The social media account that appeared showed 5 years of updates. Photos from around the world. My eyes stung. Everything she wore was custom couture from Oliver's company. Designs I had personally created, all worn by Lily. I scrolled further, my heart growing colder with each post. I compared Oliver's business trips with Lily's travel timeline. They matched perfectly. Suddenly, I understood. At the wedding, when Oliver told me firmly, "I will stay with you for a lifetime," it wasn't stay, it was compensate. Watching Oliver smile brightly in the kitchen, this was his real smile. I suddenly recalled the ill-fitting wedding ring, the shoes that were a size too large, and Lily's profile bio. Passing through your entire world. I realized I already had all my answers. Watching Oliver beam at the thought of Lily returning, I laughed at myself. Then I booked the world's most advanced cosmetic surgery abroad, and contacted a special team. They would erase all my identity records and prepare a new one for me. 7 days later, on our wedding anniversary, there would no longer be a person named Julia in this world. Chapter 3. The aroma of food filled the air as Oliver smiled and served dishes onto my plate. My phone kept chiming with notifications. Oliver couldn't help glancing at it. His expression changed instantly. Shock flashed across his face, and he looked at me with deep confusion in his eyes. He hurriedly began signing to me. Julia, why have you deactivated so many things? I smiled and gently pulled the phone back from his hand. Not long ago, my phone was stolen on the subway while I was out shopping. I was afraid it might cause unnecessary trouble, so I canceled all the accounts linked to the old phone and bound them to a new number. He let out a sigh of relief, leaned down, and pressed a kiss to the top of my head, continuing to sign. Eat quickly, the food will get cold. Your stomach has never been very strong. I nodded. A moment later, his phone rang again. Oliver. I miss you so much. Can you come pick me up? Lily's voice came from the other end of the line, sounding heavily drunk. I glanced outside. It was already very late. Where are you? I'll come right away, Oliver blurted out, already grabbing his coat in a rush. Noticing my gaze, he quickly signed an explanation. Sorry, Julia. Something urgent came up at the company. I need to deal with it immediately. I nodded at him. Go ahead. Don't worry about me. He smiled and signed back to me. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. See if there's anywhere you'd like to go. In a few days, I'll take you out to relax. I watched his figure disappear. Of course I knew that in a few days, Lily's design exhibition would take place, and the prototype of that perfume was the very one my father's factory never had the chance to release before it was destroyed in the explosion. To pave the way for Lily, he had truly endured humiliation for all these years. Oliver did not return all night. The next morning, I went early to the law firm. Ms. Julia, the most critical evidence from back then has been completely destroyed. Even the remaining traces were wiped clean. To overturn the original verdict would be extremely difficult. The lawyer looked at me apologetically. I said nothing more. I only asked him to draft the divorce agreement, carefully placed it inside a gift box, and scheduled a courier delivery. After leaving the firm, I went straight to the hospital. A body with a build very similar to mine lay silently inside the hospital morgue. All of this was a gift I had prepared for Oliver 7 days later. Ms. Julia, we've located a body suitable for faking your death. How would you like to leave? I froze for a moment. Images of raging flames surfaced in my mind. I think I had my answer. As I stepped out of the elevator, I saw Oliver carefully supporting Lily. He treated her like a priceless treasure. The two of them looked so close, so sweet. Someone nearby recognized Oliver. Isn't that Oliver and his wife? Oliver has never made his wife public. They say it's to avoid causing her trouble. She's really beautiful. No wonder he keeps her hidden. Is Oliver accompanying his wife for a prenatal checkup? It looks like they're coming out of the obstetrics department. These past few years must have been hard on you. It wasn't hard. I've been to many places, crossed countless mountains and seas, seen the stars and the ocean. Thank you. If you hadn't done all this for me back then, I wouldn't have been able to share these beautiful sights with you. I should be the one thanking you. I thought my life would become stagnant, like dead water. Thanks to you, Dad would bloomed again. Thank you for using your entire company as collateral and for cooperating with me, with your brand backing me. I think even if I create the worst smelling perfume, someone will still buy it. You just focus on creating. I'll take care of everything behind the scenes. Oliver looked at her, his eyes burning with intensity. Lily smiled gently. Oliver, don't say things like that. If Ms. Julia hears this, she'll misunderstand me again. Take this back. It doesn't belong to me. If Ms. Julia sees it, she'll probably add another charge against me. In Lily's hand was a ring, the pink diamond Oliver had bid for not long ago. You still don't like it? A flicker of disappointment crossed Oliver's eyes. Next time, I'll find something more suitable for you. A dark glint flashed through my eyes. Oliver gave me a ring every year. Chapter 4. So it turns out, everything I received had already been discarded by someone else. A wedding no one wanted. A ring that never fit. At the wedding, Martin once pointed at me in front of everyone. No one would ever marry a monster like you. Just looking at your face makes me sick. Not only that, you even had the nerve to falsely accuse Lily. You're the real murderer's daughter. Our family doesn't need a daughter-in-law like you. Martin broke off the engagement in public, and I became the biggest joke in everyone's eyes. All the guests whispered and pointed, saying I was a toad dreaming of eating swan meat. When the wall collapses, everyone pushes it down. Back then, Martin had begged shamelessly for this marriage. Now he looked utterly heartless. It was Oliver who stepped forward and pulled me out of the abyss. But what I never expected was that it was he who pushed me completely into the darkness, sealing off the only way out. The moment Oliver saw me, his face turned pale. Julia, why are you here? Perhaps remembering that I couldn't hear, he relaxed slightly and hurriedly began signing. Julia, I just happened to run into Lily during a checkup. Don't overthink it. She suffered a lot in prison. She's also very guilty about what happened back then. You know, the investigation showed that Lily wasn't directly responsible. So many years have passed, this should be considered over. I nodded and looked Lily up and down. Her wavy hair was perfectly smooth. Not a split end in sight, clearly pampered and well cared for. Her makeup was exquisite, even past 30. Her face was still full of collagen, compared to Oliver's panic. Lily was calm and composed. She looked at me openly and smiled politely. She looked nothing like someone who had suffered. I have things to do. I'll be leaving. But Lily stopped me and typed a line on her phone. I looked into her eyes. A faint chill in mine. Tomorrow I'm hosting a business banquet. MS. Julia, why don't you come as well? I was about to refuse, but Oliver grabbed my hand. He explained, Lily needs to establish herself. After all, we owe Martin's family a favor. Back then, I pressed down on his hand and nodded. All right, I'll go. I looked at him, sorrow inching through my gaze. Oliver visibly relaxed. After all, this was also a clarification banquet. It wouldn't do to be missing the main character. When I returned to the villa, I stared blankly at everything in front of me. Perhaps Oliver had forgotten. Tomorrow happened to be my father's Memorial Day. The house was completely empty. A trace of mockery crossed my eyes as I cleared out everything between Oliver and me. Chapter 5. That night, Lily updated her social media. The pink diamond was finally on her finger. From the other hand, someone handed her a bouquet of sunflowers. After marrying me, Oliver had never worn a wedding ring, but now, he was wearing one. If you looked closely, the designs on the two rings formed a perfect pair. A mocking smile tugged at my lips. This marriage had been a mistake from the very beginning. My phone chimed. It was the confirmation for the plane ticket I had booked. I silently deleted the notification and lay awake all night. The next day, after paying respects to my father, I arrived at Martin's house in the evening as agreed. Only then did Oliver realize he had forgotten to pick me up. And only then did he remember what day it was. Julia, I'm sorry. Guilt filled his eyes as he walked toward me. Oliver, it's my fault. I kept you busy arranging everything, and you didn't even have time to prepare a gown for MS. Julia, if MS. Julia doesn't mind. She can wear my dress first. How could we blame you? It's already thoughtful of you. Julia, go change first. Oliver signed to me. I looked at him, heavy sarcasm in my eyes. Ever since I was burned, I had never worn an evening gown again, because it would expose my scars. Yet for Lily, Oliver tore my wounds open with his own hands. When I reached the upstairs hallway, I removed the scarf covering my head, revealing the horrifying scars beneath. Lily laughed softly behind me. Julia, look at yourself. Do you still look anything like a proper heiress? Today is your father's Memorial Day, isn't it? Thanks to Oliver. I've been traveling the world these years, having the time of my life. You wanted to know where those files and documents went? You have yourself to thank. If you hadn't handed them to Oliver for restoration, I might have gone to prison. You think Oliver likes you? If it weren't to trick you into handing over the evidence, he would never have married you. Luckily, your husband helped me tamper with the data. You should have died along with your short-lived father. She spoke recklessly behind me, revealing the truth of that year. I turned around coldly. Say that again. Lily's expression changed. You can hear? Very quickly, she regained her composure. So what if you can? I couldn't hold back anymore. I slapped her hard across the face. She was about to strike back when footsteps approached. She smiled at me and slammed herself into the glass screen beside her. When Oliver rushed in, he saw Lily lying amid shattered glass, her hands covered in blood. Julia, what have you done? He looked at me, fury blazing in his eyes. Today is Lily's most important day. What exactly are you trying to do? He scolded me without hesitation, rage thick in his gaze. Martin's face darkened visibly. Lily struggled up from the ground, tears falling as she forced herself to speak. It's not MS. Julia's fault. I just lost my balance. I looked at my husband and my childhood friend, both staring at me with disgust. Disappointment filled my eyes. Get out! Martin glared at me, his voice suppressed with fury. I looked at him. When we were kids, He and Oliver had stood on either side of me, protecting me. In kindergarten, when boys pulled my hair accessory apart, Martin fought them without hesitation. In high school, when love letters were stuffed into my desk, those boys were beaten up the very next day. I never imagined that now they would stand against me. I'll leave on my own. Don't trouble yourselves. I spoke coldly. Oliver froze. He realized something and suddenly shouted after me, "Julia!" My steps paused. I didn't respond. I turned and walked away without looking back. "Wait!" Martin stopped me, darkness flickering in his eyes. "No matter what, apologize. You slandered Lily back then. I didn't want to pursue it. But now you've hurt her again. I did nothing wrong." I looked calmly at my former childhood friend. "If you won't apologize, that's fine. You injured Lily's hand. Blood must be repaid with blood," Martin said coldly. "Blood for blood." I looked at Oliver. He turned his head away. Before I could react, Martin's people seized me. Only after my hands were cut until they were soaked in blood did they throw me out. I returned home, hastily bandaged my hands, and looked at the message Oliver sent. "Julia, I'm sorry. Today is Lily's most important day. Since childhood, she's always wanted to be a perfumer. You promised me you wouldn't pursue what happened back then. You know Martin's temper. Wait for me tomorrow. I'll give you a surprise. All right?" I stared at the message and let out a mocking smile. It was time to end everything. Chapter 6. However, even 2 hours after the plane was scheduled to take off, Oliver still hadn't shown up. I let out a mocking smile and reached for my phone to call him. But the one who answered was Lily. "Miss Julia, I'm sorry." Oliver worked himself to exhaustion just to reorganize a celebration banquet for me. "He's resting beside me right now. Please don't disturb him. If there's anything you need to say, I can pass it on for you." She hung up quickly. Moments later, she sent me a photo. Oliver was leaning against her shoulder, their fingers tightly interlaced. I sneered. I turned off my phone and threw it into the airport trash bin. Half an hour later, the plane took off. At the very same time, the villa that had once been my marital home with Oliver was engulfed in flames within seconds. The fire trucks arrived promptly. What they carried out was the charred body of a woman. When Oliver woke up, he gasped violently for air. He had just had a nightmare. In the dream, Julia, just like that year, was once again trapped in a raging fire. Flames coiled around her like serpents. As she screamed his name with desperation, he jolted awake. Cold sweat drenched his entire body. "Oliver, what's wrong? You don't look well. Do you want to rest a bit longer?" "Lily, I'm sorry. I need to go back." A deep sense of unease surged through his chest. He felt, with terrifying certainty, that he had lost something irreplaceable. These past years, I spoiled Julia too much. Sometimes she lets her emotions get the better of her. And yesterday was the anniversary of her father's death. If she offended you in any way, I apologize on her behalf. Lily was just about to respond when Oliver's phone rang urgently. On the other end, the secretary's voice was frantic. "Oliver, something terrible has happened." "Madam, something happened to her." Oliver froze. He stared blankly at the breaking news on his phone. The house swallowed by roaring flames. Wasn't that his home? What exactly happened? Why didn't anyone notice? Why didn't anyone call me earlier? That's impossible. 2 hours ago, Madam was still asking about your whereabouts. Oliver suddenly understood everything. Immediately get me the call records from the past 2 hours. He turned toward Lily, his eyes filled with a chilling rage. "Was it you?" "Oliver, listen to me. I just thought you were too tired. I wanted you to rest properly." Lily grabbed onto him, desperately trying to explain. "Let go of me." At that moment, Oliver understood everything. He flung Lily's hand away and rushed out without looking back. When he arrived and saw his home reduced to nothing but ruins, he stood frozen in place. Firefighters were organizing the evacuation of onlookers. Oliver collapsed to the ground. When he saw the body covered with a white sheet, he could no longer hold himself together. He fell to his knees. He clutched his head tightly, his face contorted with unbearable pain. Ever since that fire years ago, He had never allowed Julia near any source of flame. He even cooked all her meals himself. How could this have happened? Chapter 7. The next day, Oliver arrived at the company like a lost soul. He couldn't believe that Julia had really left him, until the courier called and told him that he had a package, and the sender's name was Julia. It had to be one of Julia's tricks, a punishment for him. She had scared him half to death. As long as Julia came back, he would accept any punishment. From now on, he would draw a clear line between himself and Lily. He admitted it. He couldn't lose her. Clutching at that fragile hope, he rushed outside, only to see a carefully sealed gift box. A surge of hope rose in his chest. How could Julia bear to leave him? Lately, he had paid more attention to Lily. Yes, but that was only temporary. Over the years, he had already come to understand his own heart. He was willing to stay by her side. The girl he had protected since childhood had finally become his wife. From beginning to end, she had always been the one he loved. He opened the gift box. The moment he saw the documents inside, his heart skipped violently. He opened the letter beside them. It was Julia's handwriting, but the contents drained all the color from his face. Oliver, by the time you read this letter, I may no longer be in this world. I always thought you were my salvation. Only now do I realize that you were another abyss. So this is how love can be performed so convincingly. I thought it was happiness bestowed by fate, but it turned out to be a trap you carefully wove. I cannot forgive this, nor can I accept it. Goodbye, Oliver. Oliver flipped the entire desk over and clutched his head, letting out a hoarse, agonized roar. He slammed his fist into the glass beside him, with the shattering sound of breaking glass. His entire hand was covered in blood. The assistant rushed forward in panic. But Oliver could only think of one thing. Had Julia felt the same pain that day? Compared to the wound tearing through his heart, what did this physical pain even count for? The assistant watched him cautiously. After a long silence, he spoke carefully. Oliver, I think everything you said that day was heard by Madam. He took out a file. Madam scheduled surgery for hearing restoration and facial reconstruction. At that time, she had just regained her hearing. Before he could finish, a notification sounded. It was an email I had scheduled to be sent. Oliver's hands trembled as he opened it. Lily's venomous voice poured out from the recording. Today is your father's Memorial Day, right? Thanks to Oliver. I've been traveling the world these past few years, living happily. Didn't you want to know where those documents and files went? You should thank yourself. If you hadn't handed them to Oliver to restore, I might already be in prison. Do you really think Oliver loves you? If it weren't to trick you into handing over the evidence, he would never have married you. Luckily, your husband helped me falsify the data. You should die just like your short-lived father. Lily's vicious words spilled out mercilessly. That day, I had secretly turned on my phone's recorder. Lily thought I was deaf, so she spoke without any restraint. Oliver stood frozen. He had never known that Lily could be so cruel. He couldn't believe it, that he had helped a devil and driven Julia to her death. No, that couldn't be true. I paid no attention to what was happening on Oliver's side. After removing the bandages, the face reflected in the mirror was flawless. The doctors couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, praising it endlessly. The sunlight by the sea was beautiful every day. No wonder Lily had grown even more radiant over the past 5 years. Meanwhile, Oliver had completely lost his mind. He hadn't slept for days. The moment he closed his eyes, he fell into nightmares. Julia, again and again, was swallowed by flames before him. She had erased all traces of her existence from this world, leaving him nothing. He couldn't believe it. He refused to believe it. His friends couldn't bear to see him like this. But when they opened the door, a suffocating stench of alcohol rushed out. The man lying among empty bottles was nothing like the Oliver they once knew. One of his childhood friends rushed forward and hauled him up by the collar. Oliver, are you really going to live and die over a woman? 5 years ago, you already made a stupid mistake. Are you going to make another one now? The words 5 years ago seemed to trigger something in Oliver. A faint glimmer appeared in his eyes. The things from 5 years ago, did any of you see them? Tell me the truth. Oliver, what's past is past. Just let it go. Someone tried to smooth things over. Tell him. The friend holding him sighed. Oliver, you're a smart man. You should know Lily was never as innocent as you thought. Whether it's you or Martin, sooner or later she would have destroyed both of you. He clenched his teeth and finally spoke. In the past, whenever Lily was mentioned, Oliver would lose all reason, now that he was finally clear-headed. Those words had been waiting far too long to be said. When Oliver learned the full truth, he felt as if he had been struck by lightning. After a long silence, he called his secretary. Cancel all sponsorship for designer Susan's products. Oliver didn't believe a person could disappear so completely. He began searching for every trace that Julia had ever existed. Only then did he realize death wasn't the most terrifying thing. The most terrifying thing was facing an empty house. A home that would never be a home again. Memories surged toward him like a tidal wave. At the funeral, he gently stroked Julia's tombstone, apologizing again and again. Julia, I'm sorry, but the only response was the cold silence of stone. After the funeral, Oliver locked himself inside the house. He drank non-stop, hoping to see her once more in his dreams. Oliver, through drunken haze and blurred vision, he thought he saw his Julia. Julia, is that you? You're back, aren't you? Julia. I miss you so much. Lily was suddenly pulled into his arms. She frowned. Oliver. It's me, Lily. Only then did Oliver see the person in front of him clearly. His expression turned icy in an instant. Why are you here? Clarity slowly returned to his eyes. After checking the phone records, the assistant told him, before the accident, Julia had called him several times. All of those calls had been rejected by Lily. He even had the chat records restored. That was when he saw the messages Lily had sent to Julia. He also uncovered the truth of what happened back then. Lily had deliberately altered the perfume formula. At first, she only wanted to ruin Julia's family brand and spoil the fragrance. She never imagined that casually falsified data would lead to such a devastating tragedy. Lily, you should go to hell. The woman standing before him had caused the death of the uncle who raised him, and also the death of the woman he loved. Lily froze. Fear flooded her eyes. How could this be? Wasn't Oliver supposed to always stand by her side, as long as she softened her voice and pleaded a little? Why had everything changed? Oliver, I know I was wrong. You know I never had bad intentions. It was all an accident. Forgive me. She stared in terror at the hands closing around her neck. She struggled with all her strength and barely escaped. Gasping for breath, she looked at him. Forgive you? He said coldly. Save those words for hell. With that, he turned around and left without looking back, ignoring all opposition. Oliver terminated the partnership with Martin's company. Martin looked at him coldly. You're really going this far? You know what happened back then was just an accident. Julia is already dead. We should all move on. Oliver, I know you acted for Lily. What, are you going to lie to yourself too now? Oliver looked at him. The evidence he had once destroyed, at the cost of his entire life, he was now willing to spend a fortune to restore it. Martin watched him, a dark glint flashing through his eyes. Chapter 8. Martin had always put the interests of the family first. In the end, he could only sacrifice the pawn to save the king and publicly announced his divorce from Lily. In an instant, Lily fell from heaven straight into hell. Soon after, people also dug up evidence of her plagiarism. The once celebrated genius designer Susan was suddenly condemned by everyone. She blamed everything on Oliver and Martin. The moment she understood the meaning of the legal subpoena in her hands, she finally broke down. She knew it was over, so she stepped on the gas, ran Oliver over with her car, and exposed all the evidence of Martin family's tax evasion. Martin was sent to prison because of her. In court, her desperate, world-destroying laughter made people shudder with fear. Watching all of this unfold, Oliver regretted it so deeply that his intestines might as well have turned green. For a woman so mad, he had abandoned the person he truly loved, because Oliver had committed perjury and destroyed evidence back then. His company quickly lost all credibility. Its business partners withdrew one after another. No one wanted to work with Oliver, fearing that one day they might lose everything without warning. Before long, Oliver's company went bankrupt as well. I watched the news coldly, a faint chill in my eyes, and ignored his belated repentance. Love that comes too late is cheaper than weeds. On the anniversary of my father's death the following year, I went to the cemetery. There, I discovered that a new gravestone had appeared beside his. It read, "In loving memory of Julia." I froze for a moment, then placed flowers there. It was also a way of mourning the person I once was. A hunched man rolled his wheelchair up to the gravestone. "Julia, I came to see you." When our eyes met, disbelief flashed across his gaze. "Julia?" He called my name tentatively. I paused, bitterness spreading across my lips. I knew that no matter what, Oliver would always recognize me. "So it's true, you're not dead?" he said excitedly, joy flashing in his eyes. I lowered the brim of my hat and spoke calmly. "You've got the wrong person." He looked at the 2 bouquets of flowers in front of him, and the light in his eyes finally went out. Yes, his Julia was already dead. And yet, for a fleeting moment, those eyes had made him believe she had come back to see him again. He let out a bitter laugh. Over the years, he had lived in regret, numbing himself with alcohol. He had uncovered the truth about the past. How could he not also know that his Julia had faked her death and left? By now, his body was at its limit. He no longer deserved to love again. On the day Oliver died, his secretary came to find me. "This is what Oliver left for you." I looked at the assets he had left me and the letter filled with apologies. A trace of mockery flashed through my eyes. "Donate it," I said. "I don't want anything more to do with him." The secretary hesitated for a long time. Seeing my resolve, he finally chose to respect my wishes. The moment I stepped out of the company, I looked toward the distance. The morning mist had already dispersed. Sunlight fell upon the world. From this day on, only warmth and clarity remained.